Right, okay, so put the oven on.
Oven is on.
So what I like to do is use an oven thermometer, because when you're making like a casserole or something like that, it doesn't matter if the oven temperature isn't exactly right. And I got a new oven not so long ago, and the temperature that is on the dial isn't the same as in the inside. So,
well, baking is a science.
Yes.
Cooking, they say cooking is an art. Baking is a science. Well, that's what chefs say, especially chefs that don't like to do pastry. So,
so I like to check the oven temperature. I'm going to do these at 190 today.
190. Okay. I will keep an eye on that and see
if I can. And yeah, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. And then I've got my notes.
Well prepared.
And if you could measure out 300 ml,
300
and it needs to be of milk. You can use any sort of milk, but I use oat milk. And then I thought, should I change it to cow milk? And I thought, not today, not when I'm showing lots of people how to do it.
Not when you're doing it live, no, definitely not.
So that's what I always
300.
use. And that's another thing that when you're making scone, the actual process is fairly straightforward, but it's being really precise. That's what will give you a really good scone. So if you have too much, even just a tiny bit too much milk, your mixture will be quite sticky and you'll get very flat scones. They'll still taste nice, but they won't, rise up.
You've got me nervous about measuring out the milk now. I hope this counts.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go with that, because I can always add in a little bit more.
Okay. Basically, you'll just blame me if they don't work.
Yeah, exactly. Takes the pressure off me. So we want light and fluffy scones. So that starts right from the beginning. And again, I've been doing my Blue Peter thing, and I've already sieved all the flour. So I'm just going to do a little bit to show you that this is the start when we starting to get the air into the scones, so that they're going to be really lovely and light and fluffy. So holding up the really nice and high, and you can see it all sprinkling down, and that's the start of the process. So don't skip that process, because I know sometimes I don't always do that on a recipe when I think you can get away with it, but I think for this you can't. And then so I'm using plain flour, and then I'm adding in my raising agent, which is 2 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda. And 4.5 teaspoons of cream of tartar. Okay. So that's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And a pinch of salt, but I put that in with that.
So you can make scones with self-raising flour?
Yeah, you can, but I would imagine you would need to still add a bit of raising agent, because this is quite a lot of raising agent, and I don't know what the ratio is when you've got self-raising flour.
So, and how many attempts have you had to perfect this recipe? Or did you nail it first time?
No. And then I was doing a masterclass video for my, for online, and I was videoing it, and they all went completely flat. And I thought, I'm really pleased. That's in the comfort of my own home.
It wasn't live.
So that's when I learnt about the milk.
Right.
I got a bit blasé. And I think maybe I just had a tiny bit too much milk, and you could see them squashing down. So.
And how many scones do you reckon you've made in your baking career?
The last 6 months, quite a lot. Including yesterday.
So flour's gone in, sieved, you've got your raising ingredients, so your bicarb, cream of tartar and a touch of salt.
And now we've got our butter, which should have been in the fridge, but, wasn't quite there. So I've already cubed the butter, so if I was doing these at home, that's the first thing I'd do, cut the butter into tiny little cubes and put it in the fridge, so it's really nice and cold for when I want to use it. And I cut it into quite small little pieces, because then the rubbing in process is a bit easier, because you've already got quite small pieces.
And do you ever cheat and use a food processor for this bit?
No, because I haven't got one.
Oh, okay.
So you could,
simple
but I
answer.
don't know how to do that. I've got a very small kitchen,
Right.
and I was I was getting a bit sweary in it yesterday because I was saying it's not big enough. So I'm sure you could.
Okay.
But you just want to squash the butter into the flour. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. So what I should have done before I put the butter in is give it a good mix, so you get the raising agent evenly distributed throughout the flour, so that when your scones you're going to get a nice even rise. So that's something that I would advise you doing. And then you rub in the butter, so you're just squashing the butter between your thumb and your first two fingers into the flour, and you want to remember to get right down into the bottom of the bowl, so you're incorporating all of the flour.
Yeah. And then you're going for like a breadcrumb texture, is that correct?
Exactly. One I made earlier.
Ah, here we go. I can't think of any female Blue Peter presenters. Is it Janet somebody?
Oh, Janet Ellis. Is it Janet Ellis?
Yeah, I think it was.
Anyone?
Yeah, so is it Sophie Ellis Bextor's mum?
Yes,
There we go,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, exactly.
We're showing our age.
So exactly, so it goes to, this is what I did earlier, so this is where the butter has all been nicely, and it starts to look a little bit like sand, and if you shake it like that, all the bigger bits of butter will come to the top, so you can see how you're getting on with your rubbing in. So this is what it looks like at the beginning. You can see it's a slightly different colour. I don't know if you can see that, but this one's more white, and then this is a slightly creamier colour. So we're going to get rid of this. So that takes about 10 minutes, so I just thought we'd skip that process.
It's not the most riveting of food demos.
So I like to also at this stage read through my recipe, which I've got here, even though I've made a million scones. So I've got my flour, my salt, my bicarbonate of soda, my cream of tartar, my butter. I'm about to add my cold milk, but before I do that, this is when you get to choose. Do you want a cheese scone? Do you want a fruit scone with sultanas or raisins? I like sultanas, so these are going to go in there.
Is there any other fruit that can you kind of
I think you could use
freestyle this a bit and put cranberries?
I think you could, or like mixed peel, you know, that kind of thing.
It would need to be a dried fruit rather than a
wet one, because it will affect the texture of the. You'll probably get flat scones.
Oh, nobody wants a flat scone.
Like a soggy bottom. So so I think you could, and I think you can use more fruit if you really like fruit. Some people don't like fruit, so it's a very, very personal thing. So, okay, now here we go. So I've got all of my ingredients, and I'm just going to put the milk in, but I'm going to play it safe today. I'm just going to leave that tiny bit out.
You just don't trust me, do you? It's all right, I'd do exactly the same thing. I wouldn't trust me either.
It's just because I made them yesterday, and I was like, they've gone flat. So I think that time I rolled the dough out slightly too thin.
Oh, okay.
So that will have you do actually need to keep it quite thick. So cold milk and cold butter, really good.
And am I right that you don't overwork this? You've got to try and handle it as little as possible.
Absolutely, if you want, yes, a bit like pastry.
Right.
But you do need to combine it all.
Sure.
So, because otherwise you get little leaning towers of Pisa. This is what I've discovered.
Yeah.
When you don't knead it enough because you're too scared that you're going to over knead it.
And make it too tight and tough. And
exactly. So then that gets a bit tricky when you cut your first few out. Obviously, but then you have to re-roll it, don't you? So then it's tricky to get them so they rise nice and straight. So here we go. Right.
How's it looking?
It's looking good. I probably do need your bit of milk, but I'm going to wait. I like to knead it in the bowl. Yeah. Because I find it easier to manage. Otherwise, it gets a bit messy.
Okay.
So. Right, hands in. This is the
fun part.
Bit. Yeah. So we get.
So what else do you do for your afternoon tea
for my afternoon tea.
Tutored
Experience, yes.
Experience, there we go.
So, they're generally on a Saturday, but if you wanted to book 4 or more people, you could have a bespoke afternoon tea. I do it in my home. I live in Bampton, so it's a maximum of 6 people. And so I show you how to, I do exactly this. Show you how to make scones, and you get to decide what you have, cheese scones or half and half, or fruit scones or plain. And then I make something else as well. So in June I'm making meringue kisses with a strawberry whipple cream.
Lovely.
In July we're going to have those little mini chocolate cakes.
Yeah.
And in August I think we'll do meringues again.
Lovely.
And then you get to have a glass of bubbly.
Excellent.
And sit down and have your cucumber sandwiches and your smoked trout canapes.
Very nice.
And then you get to eat freshly baked scones with jam, clotted cream.
Of course.
And whatever the other thing is that we've decided to make. So look, it's going in.
So how's it? It's coming together now.
It is, but it's a bit dry. You can see it's.
And that just comes from experience.
Yeah. Just make them. Do you know, if they don't look perfect, I don't know, does it matter? I mean, they taste nice, don't they? So now look, you see I've put slightly too much in, it's gone a bit gooey. So I think we're gonna, if you can undo that. Have I got a little twisty thing on the top of that? You can, if it is gone slightly gooey, which you can tell by the state of your fingers. I was getting too overconfident, you see. Teach me.
There we go, hopefully.
We can just put a little, thank you Damien, bit of flour on. And I mean that is, right, there we go. So you can see it's kind of all come
together.
Can't see, so sorry.
You have got the camera just above you as well. Can everybody see that? Although it's too bright in here today, so I don't think you can see much on the TV screen.
It's kind of looks like this.
Now with this, could you, if you made this batch up but you didn't want to bake them all off, could you cling film it and pop it in the freezer?
Oh, you could try popping it. I've not tried that, to be honest. I tried the fridge and it didn't work.
Okay.
They came out rock solid. But you can go as far as rubbing in the butter, because that's what I did. So I rubbed for these ones. We rubbed in the butter yesterday.
Yeah.
But I haven't. Again, I have a really tiny kitchen, so. I haven't got a good size freezer, so I haven't tried it out.
Sure.
So now it's nice and a nice solid lump. So flouring the work surface so it doesn't all stick, and you can, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of quite smooth mixture now.
Yeah.
And it is forgiving, because there's a little bit of a lump of butter there. You know, it should be all right. Well, you can tell me later. In about 15 minutes. So
let's have a look and see what temperature we are.
How are we doing on temperature?
We are at 185.
Where did I put my rolling pin? Did I get that out? Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, flour the rolling pin.
So, how long did it take you to write your book?
About 2 or 3 months.
Wow, okay.
And then it's all my own illustrations.
Oh, amazing.
So I decided to illustrate it, because then I could, I don't know, felt like I had
not pay somebody to do it.
Yeah. And it was quicker, to be honest, because then I don't have to find a photographer and get all the so I illustrated it myself. So there are some copies at the back there, you can see one in the, and also got I'm doing an afternoon tea hamper there, which you can just see. So I think Lovely Orla might have come round and given you a little form to fill in. If you wanted to enter the draw, you'd be very welcome. So you get my book.
Yeah.
2 vintage teacups and saucers. What do you get? A Shea Becky tea towel.
Excellent.
4 matching coasters and a pot of, is it Bon Mama jam?
Yeah, Bon Maman.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, you see, I always thought it was bon maman, but it's spelled M-A-N at the end. I always had bon maman too.
I'm Welsh, so what do I know? So what sort of thickness do you need to roll this out to?
Okay, so it depends on the size of your cutter.
Yeah.
Because I'm using a 5.5 centimetre cutter, so I'm going to roll this to about 2.5 centimetres, and I've made a little mark, if I can see it on my. This is about 3 centimetres high, this cutter. If I have it much taller than that, then they just kind of concertina up.
Okay,
they're too high, they can't hold their height.
Yeah.
And then if you make them much smaller than that, well, a tiny bit shorter, then they'll be really flat.
Okay.
So
this is real science.
It is a bit tricky. It does, yes, and it is. Like I said yesterday, I didn't quite get it right.
Okay.
So
you're being very gentle with how you're rolling that out.
Yes, because I think it's all about keeping the air in it and the light in it.
Okay.
And then I've got another lovely tip here. So when you're cutting out your scones, you want to dip your cutter into the bag of flour, or you might like to have a separate bowl.
Yeah.
And then
it just helps it release when you.
Exactly. So then it will come away really nice and easily. And my instinct is to go like right round the edge and then try and get as many in that way, but if you cut them right in the edge, again they'll go like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So you want to just go slightly in a little bit and push straight down on your cutter and give them a little twist, and then they almost pop out.
Hooray!
We've got one. And then I like to use, this is reusable paper, so you can use it more than once, which is quite nice. So we're just going to go round there and cut them
So
all
if
out.
you were doing savoury ones, you mentioned you could put cheese in it. Anything else you can put in there?
I made some lovely ones the other day. It was a Delia Smith recipe, and she had cheese with some fried onions and olive.
Wow, lovely.
And a little bit of, I think it was paprika to give it a little bit of a kick, or was it cayenne pepper?
Okay.
So I think actually with savoury scones, you can do all sorts of you can do all sorts of things.
Again, you just have to make sure that you don't increase the moisture.
Could you crack that egg?
I can indeed.
And then give it a little whisk with that fork.
You're trusting me with this.
I trust you. You know what you're doing. Right. So then what we're going to do is just put a little. Oh, well, where is my pastry brush? That.
It's here.
So good having you. Gosh, I don't normally have in the kitchen. My partner's out of there. He's like, just cooking. So then if you're doing cheese scones, once you've put the egg wash on the top, then you could put a little grating of cheese on the top.
Lovely.
Give that extra little bit of cheesiness. How's the oven temperature doing, Damien?
Let's have a look. We are at 185. I'm going to just use 185.
Okay, well I think I prefer it to be slightly cooler than hotter.
Okay, I'll leave it then.
So then when you got as many out as you can, then you need to re-roll. But yeah, it's being mindful of, you need to get the kind of dough back to
being smooth.
So it forgets how it was. I don't know how to. If you don't knead it enough, you'll get very wonky scones.
Yeah.
If that bothers you.
A wonky scone has never bothered me that much, I have to admit. I've never purposely gone, I'm not eating that, it's wonky.
No sleepless nights over wonky scones.
But you want to try and get it back to being smooth, so where you've got flour on the outside, so I suppose it would almost kind of crack the scone if you don't reincorporate it.
Exactly. So it's a balance, isn't it? Because you don't want to overwork the dough.
Yeah.
You want to keep the air in there, and then. So how am I getting on? This is very good having that cutter that height. We can do well. You can
and then
see.
how long will these take to cook?
they take 18 minutes to cook.
Okay.
So they actually take quite a long time, because if you don't cook them for long enough, they're still soggy in the middle. It's taken me quite a long time to figure it out, because most recipes will say cook them for 10 minutes.
Right.
So I was doing this and going, well, they're kind of nice and fluffy, but they're still a bit gooey in the middle. And for me, in my oven, that's one of the reasons I started getting the temperature thermometer.
Yeah.
And I figured that actually it was 18 minutes. If you do 19-20, they start getting a bit hard on the bottom. But if you do it for less, then they're gooey in the middle. And that was the thing.
So so once you've done this one, it's an egg wash next?
Yeah, so if I was at home, I would make those into scones, but you know. So then just a beaten egg over the top, and I mean, look, isn't this a nice yellow egg? I get my eggs from my local butcher, and I just always think buying the best quality ingredients that are available to you, whatever that means for you, it's really worthwhile, because I think that can make a big difference. The food I cook is often quite simple, so try and allow the ingredients to sort of shine, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And actually, while I'm doing this, I can knock off any of the little bits of flour that have got caught from the cutter.
Yeah.
So,
No, I completely agree. If you've got good ingredients, and like you say, it's doesn't necessarily have to be the most expensive.
No.
It's just if you've got good ingredients, you don't need to mess around with it too much.
Yeah, I think it puts people off. I mean, I love watching MasterChef and all that sort of thing, but I think it can be a bit
faffy.
Yeah, and frightening for people. You know, God, like, I can't do that. Oh my God, what's that? Like I said, I've got a very basic kitchen. It is like this, probably, with a...
but just not in the middle of a field.
I'd quite like it to be in the middle of a field, to be honest, but I'm in the middle of the village, which is it's very nice, but a bit noisy. Oops.
So, egg washed.
And there we go, and then they go in. Right, I reckon that's going to fall over. That one's going to be a leaning tower of Pisa because it's a bit tall.
Should we take bets?
I think... that we'll see. Let's put them in.
There we go.
Get one of my lovely little pot grabs. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I don't know.
I couldn't get it through.
Sorry.
So top of the oven.
Yeah,
and it's a fan assisted one, so it shouldn't really make a huge amount of difference.
Obviously don't burn yourself on that. And then we have to wait and see. Yeah?
Okay. So we could get start prepping some for samples.
Absolutely can.
We could have a little taste and then present them later.
This is what they're all for.
Yeah.
So, you do need to, when they come out of the oven, you do need to let them cool down on a rack.
Sure.
You know, like just normal. You know. But because there's a whole scone full of tins, a whole tin full of scones there, and we've got a bon maman down and clotted brie.
I'll give this a little wipe down, and then we'll start prepping.
Fantastic.
In the meantime, I'll let you regale everybody with your scone stories.
Absolutely. Well, I was just going to check that I've told you everything, because it was quite good. We just went in because I'm a bit. So I told you to sift the flour, stir the raising agent throughout, which I didn't do, but it didn't matter because we're not using that. And then the cold butter and cold milk. And then, being precise with the milk is quite important. Cold butter and...
What was your ratio, flour to butter to milk?
So it's 500 grams of plain flour. You go onto my YouTube channel, Shay Becky Life, and the recipe's on there as well. So a pinch of salt. Sorry.
No, I'm just
2 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda.
Yeah, I've heard that. Why that and not baking powder?
Right, I knew somebody was going to... I don't honestly know the answer to this. I think.
Is it a nicer texture?
I think.
It's the same as the other.
Do you not? Damien might know. Is cream of tartar stronger than baking powder?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
an artist, not a scientist. But I like to think
We'll have to Google that. So 4.5 cream of tartar, 75 grams of cold butter, 300 ml of cold milk. Thank you.
Right.
And then 1 egg at the end.
And what temperature was the oven?
So it's 190 fan and for 19 minutes. Oh, that's hot. Funny that, isn't it?
So are we going to do a mix of
What people like? What, do you have a preference? Cream first,
cream
jam
first, then jam,
first,
or jam and then cream?
some and some,
Jam and cream.
lots of cream.
Jam and cream. So we're going to go jam on the bottom and then cream on the top.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you can get more cream on that
Yeah.
one.
Fight.
Have I got,
You can definitely.
Can I get the cream? Have you got the cream?
I've got the cream
you've got
here.
the cream. I think there's some teaspoons. I
Sorry.
did bring some.
Were you going to ask a question before and then I started?
The cutter seems quite small.
Yeah, it
Are
is.
they going to expand outwards or just upwards?
No, they'll be pretty much that size. They're slightly
They
bigger.
don't grow outwards, just upwards.
No, upwards. They do grow out a little bit. So if you want to put them quite close together so that they all do meet and then you can pull them, that's something that you can do. You can have like I think they call it like a sharing scone. If you put them quite close.
Tear and share.
Tear and share. There we go. So you see, they will a little bit, but it's mostly upwards. Yeah. So these were cut with the same. Here we go. And you can have these ones too.
Okay.
Yeah. Did anybody else have any questions?
Would you ever put butter on them first?
Well, I bought butter, but I didn't know if you're going to have cream. Do you want butter too?
If you're my mother, then yes. You have cream. No, you have butter, jam, and then cream.
So I suppose I personally, but
Would other people do that as well?
no,
I don't know.
there's a shaking of the.
No.
You like butter?
I do.
Yeah.
But in Ireland as well, they always warm their scones before they eat breakfast.
Ooh, lovely.
So when I do the demonstrate the events in my home, sorry, holding on to the jam. Then we have them freshly made. I mean, ideally, but I didn't. Because I've got my stand here selling my aprons and tea towels, you see, so I didn't have. Ideally, I would always recommend serving them fresh. If you're having afternoon tea, that would be the last thing I would make, would be the scones, even above the sandwiches. So I'd make the cakes first, and so they've got time to cool, and the icing's got time to cool. And then I'd make the sandwiches, and then just before everybody arrives, I'd make the scones, because I think that's what really raises your game, really impresses people when you have a warm out of the oven, which we might get. I don't know.
You set a timer, by the way.
No. Oh, we've got no chance then, have we? Oh my gosh. Right, okay.
Precisely 18 minutes.
Anybody know what time it was?
I think they've been in probably 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, so about 3:15 then. So this is going to be a bit of a lottery then. It's a good job I did make some yesterday.
If these don't work, it hasn't been my measuring out the mouth. I'm off the hook now. I am off the hook.
Goodness me. I can't do two things at once. Talk and cook.
cook.
There we go. Hello. Yeah. You can go sort of like 3 centimetres. I couldn't honestly tell you exactly until I've done it myself. But I mean, you can have. It's just a practice, buy the nice big cutter, and
I suppose, would you need to have them slightly thinner so that the heat gets to the centre? If you're going for a larger size?
And they might take slightly longer to cook. Because
so it is a case of just testing it.
And the only thing that happens is if the dough is too tall, is that they just go a bit like that one and a bit, you know.
But you see, I like that. I like that one. I think that one's got character. I like a scone with character.
Lots of my scones have character.
That's it. We're doing character scones today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay, it's going to be a new thing. I like that. Yeah, scones with character here. So yeah, just try it out and see how your oven is as well, because yeah. You're welcome. Hello.
I tend to find scones very heavy.
Okay.
How can I make it lighter?
You could try one of these when they're cooled down from out of the oven and see what you think. I think probably the thing to have is freshly baked, because once they're not freshly baked, they start to get a bit heavier. So yeah, these are made yesterday, so they're okay. But the ones that will be cooling down when we've taken them out the oven, if they cook okay.
At some point. Have you set a timer now then?
No.
Oh, you still haven't done it?
It's 1:15.
Okay.
We've got 12 minutes.
Okay.
So 1:15.
Okay, we'll get them out and see.
Yeah, then that would be interesting to have your feedback as long as they cook it. Yeah, I think, and I also think it's hard to get good shop bought ones. I just recommend making them yourself. That's why in these there's quite a lot of raising agent, because it's, you know, pushing up the flour and to get that air in there. And if you don't do, if you do things like roll the dough quite thin and they come up quite flat, it won't mean that they're more dense. It's just an aesthetic. That's just an aesthetic thing. What affects the lightness is the sifting the flour, getting lots of air in right at the beginning when you sift it, and then not working the dough too much. So you might find, if you're a real connoisseur, that first rolling of the dough, that's when you're going to get your best scone, because then to get the second lot out, then you're working the dough again and getting, you know, some of that air is going to go. So yeah, does that make sense? Anyone else got any questions? Oh, they look nice. Oh, look. I told you we were going to topple over, didn't I?
That one's got character, you see. That's the character one.
So, let me hold. So you can. So this is amazing. It's just really nice and risen, and that is all about rolling the dough to the right height to get that. So then, this is what happened to a second roll. He will taste fine.
I like him.
So.
I prefer him to.
Yeah, well, it doesn't bother me, you know.
Make it cream on it, it's going to slide.
Just means you have to eat it quicker.
Exactly. Well, you do. Yeah, they do need to cool down a little bit.
Yeah, you've got your rack here. Where did that go?
Oh,
I took it away, didn't I?
You just put the tray on top of the wrap.
No, that's a choppy. No, it's a choppy board.
There you go.
Super. So yeah. So if you came to me for afternoon tea, this is what I'd actually put my timer on. She says, allegedly. And but this is much more fun. Scone roulette, we could call it.
Indeed.
There we go.